what I'm going to do is just take a step back and just look at what's happening in the print industry today. And the print industry, the story's not pretty at the moment, is it? I mean, you pick up a trade publication and all you hear is doom and gloom. You hear about printers going under, the print volumes are declining, the margins are declining, there's severe price competition out there. It's not a pretty story. Who would want to be a printer today, right? But there are bright spots in the industry, as you well know. So, but one of the things as a printer today, you sort of step back and you sort of go, look, I do have to ask myself the hard questions. You're rethinking your strategy about what it is that you offer and what you have to go to market with. So you're asking yourself the questions, where am I going to find some new opportunities? Who's going to help me with transition my business? What is working in my business, in my marketing plan today, and what isn't? So you're asking these sorts of questions and looking for answers. So, a lot of companies just focus on costs alone and try and reduce those costs because of the pressures that are out in the industry. But the problem with that is that's not a sustainable future for you. You have to look for new revenue opportunities and new ways to expand your business because you want to be in there for the long term. So some of the other trends that we're seeing in the industry, obviously, are the fact that we do have a lot of shorter runs. Not only are there shorter runs, but the margins on those runs are shrinking as well. One of the key challenges for you is finding new ways of communicating, new opportunities. Marketers today have so many choices in terms of how they communicate with their clients. Before it was pretty easy in terms of the marketing mix and if you wanted to engage your customers, but today there are so many choices. There's mobiles, there's Twitter, there's Facebook, social media, multi-channel, omni-channel. How many of you have heard of omni-channel? Because that's the latest buzz term for marketing people. Omni-channel means that all those channels are open at all times, being able to communicate with your clients in any format at any time. So you're being challenged to find to help these clients with their forms of communication. It's not enough just to have technology in place to be able to offer services to your clients. You have to be able to understand how it works, how it benefits them, and how to sell it as well. So there's some of the other things that you have to consider. Right, so I'm just going to start with basics. Variable data printing. So the definition there is a form of digital printing in which elements such as text, graphics, and images vary from one piece to the next using information that you've got from a database. So that's your traditional definition. It's been around for about 20 years. Today, though, we talk more about personalisation. And personalisation is not only about communications, because you can personalise virtually any form of communications, but also you're finding personalisation in terms of products and services as well. So you're seeing that is a buzz across industries all over the world. But today we're really just going to focus on the communication side of things. So really it should be, VDP today really should stand for Variable Data Publishing, because we're talking about publishing variable data in a number of different forms of communication. And why is it important? It's important for marketers because you can demonstrate a return on investment to them. You can demonstrate to them the benefits, the improved response rates, the improved retention rates, and the improved increase in sales. The other thing that's important too, as consumers, which we all are, if somebody's communicating to me personally that's relevant to me, it has a greater impact and I have a greater response to that as well. Now, if you look at variable data printing, as I said, it's been around for 20 years. There's a whole range of different types of variable data communication. So there are things like letters, direct mail pieces, transactional business critical communications, and trans-promotional pieces. And the applications are virtually endless in terms of what you can personalise. So think of any piece of printed or written communication and it can be personalised. Letters, newsletters, product announcements, you name it, and it can be personalised. But I'm going to start with something simple. I'm going to start with a mail merge. So if you send out say, just a standard letter to your clients offering a new product or service, and even if you have just very simple basic name and address change in there, you'll typically find the response rate to something like that is less than 1%. But it's not that hard to start adding value to that document by changing a few more things in there, making some targeted offers in there. So a special offer that's based on purchasing history, for example, an easier form of redemption. I was just going to ask you too, how many of you know what one of these is? How many are using it? QR codes. So this, I see a few nods and a few shakes. So a QR code is something that's easy to add to a document. That adds, you can add a lot of information there and make that document interactive. So by a simple addition of a QR code with a smartphone, which everybody has these days, you have an interactive interaction with your clients. How many of you are using these things in your documents? You know what that is? You see that on your mailings that you receive. That's a DPID barcode. So that, by incorporating that into your document, you can see significant savings in terms of postal savings. Because if you pre-sort your mail and make it easier for Australia Post to dispatch that piece of communication, you can see significant savings there in postage as well. So if you take the time to leverage some of the data that you have about your clients, you can increase the response of that quite significantly. I'm just going to say one more thing too. In something like this, you can put together, some of it you can put together using tools that most of us have in our business. Microsoft Word and Adobe InDesign. I see a lot of people saying, well, I offer variable data printing, I've got Adobe InDesign. The problem with those applications is they were never designed to handle variable data printing. So a few challenges that you're going to face right up front is they don't handle data very well. They make it, they're not very flexible in terms of being able to add and change images and graphics. And then when you go to production, that's when you hit your real roadblock, because you'll be sitting there watching the job process and take a long time to read before you get that first sheet of output out to the press. So never really designed to handle those sort of transactions from the outset. Another type of, here we go up a scale in terms of a variable data product. Here we're talking about full colour postcards, a little bit more sophisticated, where we're changing a lot more based on information that we have, based on demographics, gender, location and so forth. So we're able to change completely the look of the document in terms of the images, the backgrounds, the contact information and so forth. But this is a document that again is of greater value to the client because it has a greater response rate. The third type that I'll show you is the business critical transactional piece of communications. Bills and statements continue to be produced, and yes, there's a strong push for e-presentment and for electronic presentment of bills and statements, but these will never go away. Forever, business critical communications will continue. So what you have to be able to do is be able to offer that not only in print, but also in other formats as well. And when you do offer it in print, there are ways of, again, adding significant value to the document, being able to add logos and graphics. And this piece here, having a marketing message in the middle of the communication piece, is what we call trans-promotional. The thing about transactional documents, it's something that everybody opens, everybody reads, and everybody keeps. Whereas other pieces of communication are often discarded very quickly. So having a marketing message in there is important to a lot of marketers. So here we're talking about one in print, but I spoke about e-present. There's no reason why you couldn't also include that in a dynamic electronic piece of communications. The thing about it when it's an electronic is that marketing message can be live, so it can be a campaign that continues to change. Whenever the client looks at it, it's the latest campaign that's available to them. And in terms of putting variable campaigns together, there's generally two tools that you work with. The first one is your document composition tool. So the document composition tools today give you the ability to very easily drag and drop elements, logos, graphics, the variable text images and so forth. There's wizards in there to help you, guide you through the design, wizards there to help you with the data and so forth. And really the ability to capture data from anywhere. The second tool you generally find is the workflow tool. So the workflow tool is what allows you to pull in data from different sources, manage that data, automate some of the processes, and decide how that's delivered, the end delivery, what channel you use to deliver. The other things, you can set up time-based automation in there so that certain processes run at certain times, and automate things like the sorting and so forth. So, look, a few years ago, variable data printing was essentially your letters, your simple direct mail. But today, your variable data campaigns can be as complex, as diverse as your data allows. And you're seeing today some really sophisticated campaigns. Only yesterday, if you picked up the paper, you would have seen Maya talking about all the data that they have, and they're starting to really begin to leverage the immense amount of information they have about their clients to implement some real sophisticated campaigns. So the more sophisticated you make it, the more value you add to that document, you're going on this growth path of adding significant value to your clients, but also to help your business as well. The other thing that strikes me though when I talk to printers is a lot of them have the technology in-house themselves, but fail to practice it. So that's the easiest way to build up your skills and your knowledge, is by implementing some practices in-house, utilising that technology in-house, utilise what you know about your clients, and try different things and see what works and what doesn't work. Because that then gives you the foundation to build a case study that you can then go to your clients and say, look, I know about this because I've tried it and it works, and I know it works. Then offer to, say, take a static job of theirs, do a proof of concept, if you will. Take a static job and say, look, I'll help you turn that into a personalised piece, and we'll demonstrate the return on investment to you. So, by increasing those skills and knowledge, you'll be able to charge more for the knowledge and the expertise that you have. And the benefits are demonstrable. You can see, all studies show the response, the increase in response rates, repeat orders, order values, and so forth. I was only reading the other day in an online blog about people who promote email, and studies show that direct mail still offers the lowest cost per lead and the highest conversion rate of any form of marketing communications channel. So think of any other channel, whether it's advertising, whether it's click per pay, whether it's email. In terms of the ROI, lowest cost per lead and highest conversion rate of any form.
How does the lowest cost, you would have thought then?
It's not the lowest, it's the lowest cost per lead. Clearly it's not the lowest cost, because a printed piece versus an email piece, it's a significant difference in physical cost, but it's the actual cost per lead.
Meaning what?
So if I send out 1,000 emails, I might get one response, but I'll send out 100 personalised pieces and get 4 responses. Those 4 leads cost me less than the one that I sent out by email. And there are studies that, if you go online, you'll find studies that have the data, the numbers behind that. I can share with you afterwards if you want to see that study. I'll send you the link.
How do you get these details across to marketeers?
Well, that's what I said. By themselves. Or, but that's where if you have the case studies in-house yourself, actually demonstrate it, practice it, show them how it works. Point them to some of these case studies overseas. Lead them, there are times, of course, as they say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. But you've got to persist with a lot of them, because they do look, everyone looks at emails and says, well, that's so cheap, I'll just send it out there. But you read so many studies that say that most of it just gets dumped. Very little response rate there. So, some of the challenges, one of the key challenges that you're going to have down this path though, is the whole issue around data. Because one of the things about data is, if you go to any organisation, you'll find that they typically keep their data in multiple different databases. So it's not usually one database. And then, so by holding in these databases, a lot of them are old legacy databases, and they're rigid in terms of how you can interact with them. Systems don't talk to one another. So to get the data that's meaningful and useful often takes a lot of manual steps involved. So there's a lot of manual work that's involved in extracting the data, making it useful, and transforming it into something that you can then convert into documents. So it also makes it difficult to take advantage of some of these new technologies, because if you haven't got nice, clean data, it doesn't make it easy then to implement some of the newer technologies. So you've got all these manual processes to extract, consolidate, manipulate the data. That also opens doors to more errors and mistakes. It also means that if your people are working on data, then they're not working on the printing equipment, and therefore you often find that one of the other challenges you have is asset utilisation, and you're not maximising your assets because operators are distracted trying to solve problems and so forth. So when you consider all that cost, clearly what you're looking for is some form of being able to automate a lot of those steps, to eliminate those manual steps and make it easier for you. Thankfully, virtually every part of a document creation manufacturing process can be automated. So there are tools out there in place that will allow you to pull data from virtually any source. Even if you don't actually have access to the original databases, we can still provide tools that allow you to extract information from print data streams, from PostScript, from PDFs, even from AFP. From data streams, you can still extract data, manipulate it, turn it into something useful so that then you can start implementing some of these campaigns.
So what software are you using?
We've got our own software, and we can show you downstairs. I've got my colleague downstairs, Gary Thompson, he's on the 8000 down there. We can show you all of some of these tools. The idea today was not to talk about the product itself, but more about some of the technology that's out there and what that can bring to your business. But the tools that we have allow you to essentially pull data from different sources, consolidate it, make it meaningful, make it useful, so then you can implement it into some of these campaigns. The other thing about automation, one last thing about automation is it allows you to, because all the steps are automated, you can inspect every part of it. It gives you great visibility to costs of production as well. So that's important to you to understand what the costs are, but also something that you can then share with your clients, so that that whole business correspondence life cycle can be costed very accurately. So at the end of the day, what we're talking about is two things, I guess. The automation side of things helps you reduce, eliminate those manual steps, reduce the risk for errors, improve turnaround times, improve your asset utilisation, manage redundancy within your business, keep an accurate eye on costs, and also take advantage of some of those postal savings as well. It also opens the door to those newer forms of communications, the different forms of personalisation. Today we're talking about the ability for you to offer more services, moving away from being a commodity print supplier to being a marketing services provider by being able to help them with communication across a number of different platforms. And of course, because you're adding value to your client's business, you can charge more for that, so that obviously helps the bottom line as well. So you're no longer just a printer, and there's a lot of people who have not even moved beyond print, but really today, because of the way that we communicate with clients and the way that organisations, you do have to move towards offering these different services. So the only thing I was going to say about solutions, I'm not doing a product pitch as such. All I'm asking you to consider when you go out there and look for solutions to help you with your business is just to make sure that what you implement is easy to implement, that it's affordable, and typically what you'll find is a standalone solution not tied to anything else is a lower cost investment. And the other thing you need to look for is something that allows you to be able to work with any data, to work with any design format, and be able to deliver output to any platform of your choice. So those are things that you really just need to consider. The other thing, of course, that's always helpful is that you have support available when you need it. So at that point, I was just going to wrap it up and say thank you. And if you've got, I think I've got a minute or so if you've got any questions. But other than that, I'd say thank you.